Are you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, each day is a battle between impulse and wisdom, comfort and courage, chaos and clarity. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, once said, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive." Let us begin. Each morning, when our eyes first open, we are given a silent gift, another chance. But the Stoics would caution us not to take this for granted. They believed in starting the day with the awareness that it could be our last. Memento mori, the reminder of death, is not a dark thought, but rather a bright flame that ignites urgency and clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote often about waking up and recognizing the fragility of life. He urged himself to rise and face the duties of a man, not to lounge like a beast in the warmth of his bed. Why? Because time slips through our fingers like sand, and we never truly know when our last grain will fall. The awareness of mortality shifts our perspective from petty grievances to noble action. When you remind yourself every morning that life is short, you are more likely to spend your day well. You become less concerned with trivial insults or meaningless desires. You begin to focus on what matters: virtue, responsibility, contribution. Seneca advised us to count each day as a separate life. If you knew today was your last day, how would you speak to those around you? Would you waste time scrolling endlessly through distractions? Or would you take steps toward becoming the person you know you should be? Memento mori is not meant to paralyze. It is meant to prioritize. When you think deeply and honestly about the temporary nature of existence, the fog of indecision starts to lift. You realize that you do not have forever to chase your dreams, or repair relationships, or build discipline. The clock is always ticking, and that awareness can serve as one of the most powerful motivators known to man. The Stoics did not see death as something to fear, but as something to use. It is a teacher, it is a reminder. It is the ultimate advisor. It says, "Make this moment count, for you do not know how many more moments you will be given." Imagine rising in the morning, and instead of reaching for your phone or dreading your obligations, you sit quietly and reflect. What if this were my last sunrise? That simple question reframes everything. It makes the complaints about weather or traffic or someone's careless words seem small. It makes your breath feel more sacred, your relationships more urgent, your goals more pressing. It brings you into sharp focus. Life becomes a mission, not a routine. Even a few moments of such contemplation in the morning can shape the rest of your day. When you carry the weight of mortality with grace, not fear, you begin to act with more kindness, more strength, more clarity. You stop postponing your principles. You stop assuming that you will have time to start tomorrow. You begin today, because today may be all you have. This thought is not meant to depress the soul. It is meant to awaken it. There is no need to dread the end, only to respect it. When we respect the limits of time, we use it more wisely. Many live as if they have all the time in the world. They make promises to themselves they never intend to keep. They say they will change when they are older, or more comfortable, or less busy. The Stoics knew that such thinking is a trap. Comfort is an illusion, and control over the future is a lie we tell ourselves to avoid responsibility in the present. Memento mori breaks that illusion. It reminds us that the only time we truly possess is now, and that time must be used as if it were borrowed, because in truth it is. So we wake and we remember, I may not wake again, I may not see another morning, but I am here and I am breathing. Therefore, let me act as if this were my only chance. Let me be brave today, kind today, disciplined today. Let me not fall victim to delay or distraction. Let me carry the knowledge of death not as a weight, but as a compass. Because when we begin our mornings with this kind of awareness, the rest of the day becomes a gift, and each choice becomes an offering. The mind is the command center of our actions, emotions, and ultimately our fate. What happens in the first few minutes after we wake up can set the entire tone for how we handle the day ahead. The Stoics believed that the greatest power we possess is the power over our own mind. Epictetus taught that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. That judgment, those internal dialogues, begin the moment we open our eyes. Therefore, the practice of controlling your inner dialogue each morning is not just beneficial, it is essential. The mind must be trained before the world begins to influence it. Otherwise, we begin each day already behind, already under siege by outside forces. Most people wake up and immediately invite the world into their consciousness. Notifications, news headlines, missed calls, and social media all become the first voices they hear. And with those voices come opinions, expectations, fears, envy, and pressure. The Stoic, however, wakes differently. He wakes and turns inward, not outward. Before the world tells him what is important, what to fear, what to chase, he decides for himself. He examines his thoughts, questions them, and aligns them with reason and virtue. He trains his thinking like a muscle, knowing that left alone, the mind will fall into laziness, reactivity, and vice. When you first wake, your mind is raw and malleable. The Stoics understood this and saw morning as a sacred opportunity to strengthen the inner citadel. You may feel tired or resistant at first, but this is precisely the moment that matters most. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. This work is not just physical labor or career tasks. It begins in the realm of thought. What are you telling yourself about the day ahead? Are you saying it will be hard, boring, or painful? Are you telling yourself you are not ready, not capable, not in control? Or are you preparing yourself with thoughts of strength, purpose, and clarity? The Stoic trains the mind by questioning automatic thoughts. Why am I anxious about this meeting? Is that fear justified? Why do I feel irritated already? What expectation have I placed on the world? What am I clinging to that is outside of my control? These questions allow us to take back command of our thoughts instead of allowing our thoughts to command us. The mind, if untrained, runs wild with assumption, fear, craving, and delusion. But if caught early, first thing in the morning, it can be steered toward truth and virtue. It is in those quiet, early minutes that we set the direction of our entire inner compass. Many fall into the habit of negative self-talk without even noticing it. They speak silently to themselves with judgment, doubt, or shame. I'm not good enough. Today will be another failure. I can't do this. These thoughts become scripts, and those scripts become behavior. The Stoic method begins by noticing those scripts and refusing to let them go unchallenged. If a thought brings fear, examine it. If it brings anger, test its source. If it brings laziness, ask what it costs you. In doing so, you turn your mind from a chaotic arena into a disciplined garden. You uproot weeds and plant new seeds of resilience, logic, and purpose. The act of journaling in the morning is a powerful Stoic tool to achieve this. When you write down your thoughts, you create distance from them. You can observe them like a teacher correcting a student. This thought is not true. That fear is not rational. This expectation is not necessary. Through this process, you become not a slave to your emotions, but a master of your response. The Stoic does not aim to feel nothing. He aims to feel rightly, to think rightly, to act rightly. That begins with training thought at the earliest moment. Control over your thoughts does not mean suppressing them. It means engaging with them consciously. The mind is like a horse, strong and fast, but if you let it run without reins, it will take you into chaos. The morning is your time to grab those reins, to ask, where are we going today? What matters most? What will I allow into my mind? What will I reject? This practice is not a one-time event, but a lifelong habit. The Stoics knew that virtue begins in thought, and thought begins with attention. If we win the battle of the mind in the morning, we are far more prepared to face the trials of the day with reason, courage, and grace. Each new day brings with it a series of roles and responsibilities. To the Stoic mind, life is not a random sequence of events, but a structured opportunity to act in harmony with nature and fulfill one's duty. The universe has placed each person in a particular station with particular tasks, and the highest form of living is to embrace those duties without complaint or hesitation. When you rise in the morning, the Stoic practice is not to ask what you want to do, but what you ought to do. The question is not about desire, but alignment. What is my role today? What am I called to contribute, not for fame or reward, but because it is right? Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor burdened with unimaginable responsibilities, began his days not with luxury, but with reflection on duty. He reminded himself that he was born to work with others, to face difficulty, to be just, reasonable, and disciplined. He did not see his station as a source of stress, but as a sacred trust. In the same way, no matter what your position is, parent, worker, student, neighbor, you are not a passive observer of the world. You are a participant, and your task is to perform your role with excellence, no matter how humble or grand it appears. The modern world teaches us to chase novelty and escape responsibility, but the Stoics stood firm against this temptation. They taught that fulfillment comes not from pleasure or ease, but from fidelity to your assigned role. Every morning you have the opportunity to ask yourself, what is required of me today as a human being? That is the fundamental identity before any job title or external status. As a human, you are capable of reason, virtue, compassion, and endurance. These are your natural traits. Your job is to express them. Once you identify your role for the day, you begin to see your challenges not as interruptions, but as part of your assignment. The traffic jam is a test of patience. The difficult coworker is a chance to practice kindness. The unexpected task is a moment to develop adaptability. In this way, duty is not something rigid or cold. It is deeply alive. You are not a cog in a machine, but a piece of the cosmos acting in accordance with nature. Epictetus taught that every role has its own dignity, and that even the smallest duty, if performed well, contributes to the harmony of the whole. To abandon your role is to create disorder within yourself and the world around you. Stoic duty is not about blind obedience, but conscious service. You are not forced to act. You choose to act rightly, because you understand the deeper meaning of your role. The Stoics did not say that you must remain forever in one place or position. What they insisted upon was that while you are in a role, you perform it with your full moral commitment. Whether you are sweeping a floor or commanding an army, you bring the same level of inner excellence. You rise above ego and laziness by asking yourself, how can I serve? What would a wise and virtuous person do in this position? Each morning provides a blank canvas, and your role is the brush you have been given. You are not here to compare your painting to someone else's, but to complete the picture that only you can create. There may be obstacles, setbacks, and confusion, but none of these remove your ability to choose virtue. The Stoics believed that the external world is unpredictable, but your purpose within it can remain steady. That is the core of alignment with nature, not control but cooperation. You align not with what you wish the world to be, but with what it is and how you can best meet it. The practice of defining your role each day also brings freedom. It frees you from the tyranny of indecision and distraction. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and begin acting with conviction. Your focus becomes sharp because you are no longer chasing everything. You are fulfilling something. This clarity reduces anxiety and builds strength. You move through the day not as a drifter, but as a craftsman, shaping your life with deliberate action. When you ask yourself each morning, "What good can I serve today?" you shift the axis of your thinking. Life becomes less about what you can get and more about what you can give. This is not weakness. It is power rooted in clarity and virtue. The Stoics held that to live in harmony with nature is to live in service of what is right, to honor your place in the world not by chance, but by choice. In the eyes of the Stoics, comfort is not a virtue but a sedative. It dulls the senses, weakens the will, and breeds dependency. A person accustomed only to ease is easily shaken by hardship. That is why the Stoics often spoke about practicing discomfort voluntarily. They believed in training the body and the mind to withstand what life would inevitably bring: loss, fatigue, cold, hunger, insult. The morning, in their philosophy, is the perfect time to begin this training, when the mind is clear and the body still untamed by the day's temptations. A simple and powerful way to do this is by rejecting unnecessary comforts in your morning routine and choosing simplicity instead. The cold splash of water on your face or a brisk shower without heat is not just a test of endurance, it is a declaration. It tells the body that it is not in charge. The modern tendency to pamper the senses first thing in the morning leads to a dependence on luxury and an aversion to anything that requires discipline. But the Stoic wakes not to be served, but to serve. Starting the day with discomfort sharpens the edge of the mind. It forces you to breathe through resistance, and reminds you that true strength comes not from indulging urges, but from mastering them. Seneca advised sleeping on the ground occasionally, eating plain food, and dressing in simple clothes, not because he could not afford better, but because he wanted to make sure he never became enslaved to what was unnecessary. He called this practicing poverty, and though it may seem extreme in modern terms, the principle remains powerful. When you learn to live with less, you reduce your fear of loss. When you train yourself to endure discomfort, you reduce your dependency on conditions. That is freedom, not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom from needing everything to be perfect in order to function. This philosophy is not about punishing the body, but about preparing it. You do not need to plunge into ice or fast for days to begin. You can start with small acts that build inner strength. Wake up without pressing the snooze button. Stand up when you want to lie back down. Choose the stairs instead of the elevator. Eat something simple when your appetite craves indulgence. These actions are symbolic, but they carry real weight. They train you to do what is right over what is easy, and that is the heart of Stoic practice. The morning is also a time for silence, which is another form of simplicity. Noise is a comfort for many. It distracts, fills space, helps avoid confrontation with one's thoughts. But the Stoic seeks clarity, and clarity comes through stillness. To sit in silence in the morning, to observe your breath, your surroundings, and your thoughts without judgment, is to regain sovereignty over your attention. In silence, the mind confronts itself. In discomfort, the body learns obedience. Together, they produce a human being not dependent on circumstances, but capable within any circumstance. The Stoics knew that life would not always offer warm baths and soft beds. There would be cold mornings, missed meals, illness, rejection, and pain. The wise man, they said, prepares not by avoiding these realities, but by engaging them early on his own terms. If you can endure a cold morning by choice, you are better prepared to endure a cold misfortune without choice. If you can embrace simplicity in your routine, you are less likely to be overwhelmed when life removes the luxuries you have come to expect. To train in discomfort is also to grow in gratitude. When you deny yourself comfort by choice, you learn to appreciate it without attachment. The warm tea after the cold shower becomes a reward, not a requirement. The soft chair after a long walk becomes a luxury, not a necessity. Gratitude increases as entitlement fades, and the result is a calmer, more grounded existence. You become less reactive, less entitled, more centered. There is wisdom in rejecting the comfort that weakens you. Not all comfort is harmful, but unchecked comfort creates fragility. The Stoic seeks resilience, and resilience is built in the quiet, ordinary acts of morning discipline. It is built in how you greet discomfort, how you move your body, how you eat, how you speak, how you sit. In each of these moments, you are shaping your character. You are choosing strength over softness, virtue over vanity, preparation over passivity. And those choices, repeated each day, build a kind of inner armor that no luxury can replace. The Stoics taught that the key to peace lies in distinguishing what we can control from what we cannot. This principle, simple in theory, becomes powerful in practice, especially in the earliest moments of the day. Most people wake up and instantly fall into patterns of worry, anticipation, and reaction. Thoughts race ahead into problems that haven't occurred yet, while anxieties from the past creep back into consciousness. Without a clear boundary between what is within one's power and what is not, the mind is tossed around like a ship without an anchor. That is why the Stoic morning begins not with action, but with reflection on control. What lies within your power today? What does not? What must be released? And what must be embraced? The things within our control are few, but they are the most essential. Our thoughts, our intentions, our actions, and our responses. These are the building blocks of character and peace. Outside our control lies everything else: the opinions of others, the outcomes of efforts, the weather, politics, traffic, fortune, and misfortune. Yet it is precisely the external things that most people waste their energy on from the moment they rise. A single rude message can ruin a morning. A delay or inconvenience can send a person spiraling into frustration. But none of these things are truly within one's control. The Stoics knew that emotional freedom comes not from changing the world, but from changing the way we relate to the world. To begin the day with this awareness is to equip yourself with a shield. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you must remind yourself each morning that you will encounter interference, ingratitude, rudeness, and ignorance. These are part of life, but you are not bound to react with bitterness or complaint. You are free to respond with patience, reason, and calm. That freedom is always within reach because it does not depend on what happens, only on how you choose to respond. When you train your mind to focus on what it can control, you eliminate unnecessary suffering. Pain may still arise, but panic fades. Problems may occur, but they do not define you. There is great strength in letting go of the things you cannot change. It is not resignation, but strategy. By releasing the weight of what you do not control, you make room for focused, purposeful effort in the areas that matter. If your mind is clouded with worries about outcomes, you will hesitate in action. If your peace is tied to how others treat you, you will always be vulnerable. But if you root yourself in your own virtue, your honesty, your effort, your discipline, then no external force can truly shake you. This clarity of focus is especially important in the morning, when the trajectory of the day is still being set. When you wake up, ask yourself, what is mine to handle today, and what must I release? Perhaps there is a decision you must make that is within your power. Perhaps there is someone who may misunderstand or criticize you. That is not. Your task is to do your part with integrity, not to manage every reaction or force a result. This mindset does not make you passive, it makes you precise. It helps you see that energy wasted on worry is energy stolen from what you could be doing right now. The world will always offer reasons to stress, to react, to complain. But the Stoic trains the mind to observe without absorbing. A storm may rage around you, but if your center is steady, you remain unshaken. That steadiness is built one thought at a time, and morning is the best time to begin. Before the demands of others pour in, before noise clouds your mind, take a moment to draw that invisible line. This is mine to carry, and this is not. Then act only within your sphere. Respond with virtue regardless of chaos. Move forward with courage, regardless of uncertainty. This practice does not guarantee ease, but it does provide direction. When you know what is truly yours to control, you walk through life with confidence. You are no longer the victim of fortune or the puppet of circumstances. You become, as Epictetus described, a free soul, one who chooses their response, guards their peace, and refuses to be ruled by what they cannot command. That kind of freedom is not won all at once. It is cultivated each morning in quiet moments of clarity, in the decision to release what weighs you down and carry only what is yours. The Stoic prepares each morning not by predicting the world, but by preparing the self.